Hello again and welcome back to the course. In this video, I want to cover two specific topics. One is variables and two is the command print. Now, a variable is nothing more than something that you store information into. And a variable can be a number of things. I can call upon a single string like an A, B, C, D and use that as a variable. I always like to visualize a variable like a box where you're storing information into to be held and used later on. And we use variables a lot through coding. It allows us to store that information either temporarily or for a long duration if we're going to be reusing that information over and over again. Think of it like a short code. Now the word and the command print is also going to be used in this video, so let's go ahead and get started. As you recall in the math operators, if I did a 5 times 5 and hit enter, it simply prints out or spits out that answer on the screen because it's not storing it. It immediately replies the answer. Now if I use this as a variable to store that answer, then I can reuse that variable over and over again. So that might look something like this. Here I have A as my variable and it's going to equal 5 times 5. Now upon hitting the enter, you notice that it does not spit or print that 25 out. Rather, I have told Python whatever this answer is, store it into that variable called A. We'll come back to that. So the next thing I want to show you is the print command. Now the print command is pretty easy and it's pretty simple. Basically on the print command, I can tell Python to print out on not on the printer but on the screen whatever I have in here. Now this command print, I have to have the brackets around here to know what to print. It's telling it print within these brackets. Now this is a string value just simply called hello, and notice that I've used double quotes. I could also use single quotes within my string values. So here if I hit enter, notice that it does print out on the screen the word hello. Also notice that it does not print those double quotes around here or the brackets. Now let me show you here. If I type in print and I did hello again, but this time I'm going to use a single quote, not a double. Hit enter. It'll provide the same outcome. So you can use a single quote or a double quote when you're printing screens. Now what about that variable? Does Python still retain that information? Yes, it does. So if I want to know what's in that variable, again, I have to do with the print command, the brackets, but I don't need quotes because the quotes in the single or double is going to specify specific string information. Here, I want Python to print out on the screen the answer to the prior math formula. So if I did enter, it provides the answer on that because A technically is equal or storing the information of 25. So now that we actually covered a little bit of the idea of the print command as well as the variables storing our information in, this one I want us to have a little bit of fun. So follow along with me and use your own content to make it more fun. So this time we're going to call our variable name and we're going to give it a value. Now you can name it whatever you want to, but the only thing is that if you use a single or a double, have it on both sides. So if you ever start with one, end with it. Hit enter, and at this point Python says, okay, I'm going to store the string value of Matt into the variable called name. It's going to sit there and wait until I need it. This time I want to create a variable called age, and I'm not going to use quote or double quotes because it's not going to be a string value, rather it's going to be a numeric value, so I don't need them. And I want to pause here because I want to comment on something. We talked about strings, which is your alphabet, ABC, but a numeric value, another word for it is integer. Now, sometimes some people just say it's an integer. It just means it's a numeric value. It's not a string value, it is a numeric value. And it works differently with Python. And how does that work differently? Well, integers can be used in your math operators, 5 times 5. The 5 is an integer. Whereas if I say, quote, mat times 5, it will not work because I'm trying to give a separate integer with a string value. And Python gets confused and doesn't like it. Alright, we'll go back to what we're doing here. I just wanted you to be aware. So I'm going to hit enter. Now I have two variables in play. I have a name variable and I have an age variable holding two different informations for me. So let's go back to our print command. And we're going to print out something a bit lengthy this time. My name is. And then I'm going to do a space. And I'm going to put a period there. Now, when I hit enter on this, it's going to tell it, Python says, okay, I want you to print out all the information that's within here. Two string values, my name is and a period. So we'll hit enter, and sure enough, it is my name is in a period. So now this time let's use our variable within a space here. So if I do print my name is, now if I use a variable within here, I'm going to have to tell Python, stop, it's something different. So I'm going to use a comma, and then I could say the variable, and then anything else I want, I can also make it a string value. It looks very similar of the two, but I have to have a comma to separate my variable between my two string values. So here I hit enter, and what Python does is it says, okay, I'm going to print out on the screen this string value, whatever this variable is equal to, which is mat, and the next string value. So now that we did this, let's try a little bit more. Let's use both of our variables in play. So let's do print my name is name and let's do and I am, use a comma again for my next variable, old, and in my bracket. Now something else to note here is that notice that this in my console here the string values are all green. This is the other reason I really like idle. And my print command is purple. It distinguishes between the command that's given it and the string value as well as the variables. So at this point I should see printing on the screen once I hit enter my string values, my variables, whatever the information contained within. So let's see, enter, and sure enough I have a string of my name is Matt and I am 50 old. So at this point you can already play a lot with variables, putting all kinds of information in there, and then printing out that information, whatever is contained within. And now I want to show you one more thing, and then I'll have some instructions on the course here for you to play with a little bit more. But let's try this. I already have an integer, a numeric value of age. So let's make another variable with a totally different integer value. Let's say date equals, no, let's not use date. Let's say age 2 equals 32. Now since this is integers, numeric values placed in the variable, Just like a math operator, 5 times 5, I could say age times age 2 and hit enter. And what it will do is it'll take that information that's stored in that variable and it'll multiply it accordingly. And this will work for all other math operators, the addition, subtraction, etc. And the reason that is because, as I mentioned before, it's a numeric value, so it treats it just like a math problem. I cannot do this, a math problem, with string, but I can do it with numeric values.